Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Paranormal Brew. I'm your host, Taryn. I got to switch that. It's Taryn H now. It's no longer Taryn K. But I'm your host, Taryn, and I'm live every Wednesdays, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Sometimes the day changes, but I like to try to stay consistent, and that's it. It's my day. Tonight, I have a very special guest. He's not only a very good friend of mine who I love so much. He's amazing. His name is Matthew Sorge. He is, I believe, and he can correct me, but I think he's one of the founders of SRS Paranormal, and they're located in Tennessee. Matthew is a medium. He's a firefighter and a veteran paranormal researcher with more than 20 years of investigative experience. As a published author and an award-winning filmmaker, he is known for blending real-world emergency service discipline with deep spiritual sensitivity and a lifelong commitment to exploring the unexplained. His work spans documented hauntings, occult practices, and high-intensity field investigations, culminating in his debut feature documentary, Field of Fears, The Haunting of Randolph County Asylum, which has earned international recognition and industry awards. Through Shadow Work Productions, Matthew continues to create compelling, authentic stories that bridge the worlds of the supernatural, human experience, and grounded investigative practices. His current project, which we are going to talk about, Field of Fears, is a raw, atmospheric documentary capturing a 4-year investigation. 4 years! 4 years! That's a long time. 4-year investigation inside the notoriously haunted Randolph County Asylum, led by filmmaker and veteran researcher himself, Matthew Sorge. The team documents undeniable activity, voices, shadows, physical contact, while uncovering the asylum's tragic past. Blending disciplined I'm going to really mess this up. Methodology and authentic, chilling encounters, the film delivers an unfiltered look into real paranormal fieldwork and the lingering stories that refuse to be forgotten. And I'm looking forward to seeing that. So that is my guest tonight. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Matt on. Hello, Matt.
Hey, Taryn, how are you?
Good.
It's been a long time, my friend.
It has been a long time. So for those of you that don't know, there was a weekend that Matt and Al from SRS Paranormal, we decided to do a weekend in Gettysburg, the three of us, and it was just a paranormal weekend from start to finish. I mean, we had so much fun, and we had so many experiences. We went to different spots. I mean, you guys were staying till Monday.
Yeah.
I had to leave Sunday, but I was there until midnight on Sunday night because I didn't leave. We were having such a good time.
We did not stop for that entire weekend. It was an absolute blast.
And we had so much fun. And we had a lot of activity. We got a lot of EVPs. We had a lot of stuff happen.
I think one of the coolest moments in that weekend for me, well, there was two, but one was when we went to that barn during the daytime,
Yes.
and we were getting stuff. Well, you heard audibly through clairaudience. You actually heard something that
Yeah.
not only did we get the EVP, but we also got on Spirit Box. So we got like a triple validation.
Yeah.
That was really cool. That was a cool moment. And when that random thing, when we crashed, we accidentally crashed the ghost walk on the bridge, the Sax, or not Sax, the Eisenhower Bridge,
Yep.
and they were using some app. And normally, you and I have a lot of discussion about apps, like whatever,
Yeah.
but it said your name not once, not twice, but three times, and we
Yeah.
weren't part of the ghost walk, and yet this app randomly spits out Taryn, which is not
Yeah.
a common name anyway. So that was a cool weekend for sure.
Yeah.
Much like the first weekend we hung out, which is when we first met, which
That's
was
true.
Wildwood all them years before that. So
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
we do have a history of having activity when we get together.
I want to say too, Wildwood Sanitarium was awesome. That was when we first met. And I want to say too that at Gettysburg there was two other things that hung out or always remember. One, the phantom cannon fire we were hearing
Yes.
when we were at
Yes.
Culp's Hill. Remember that?
Yep.
We it was under it, like we I let I mean, people know what gunshots sound like. I mean, this was cannon fire. You could tell it was
Yep.
cannon fire. It sounded like cannon fire. Um, Luckily, we got that on record, but we heard that we were at Culp's Hill, and then when we were at Little Round Top, and I heard that disembodied voice when you guys were getting
Yes.
cigars out to smoke, and one of you
Yep.
guys said the box, and I hear the box, and then one of you guys said, I'm like, did somebody just whisper the box? And we remember we rewound it and we heard it.
Yep.
It was there. So yeah, we had. I mean, that was just awesome. But Wildwood Sanitarium was as well awesome. I mean, so we hit it off right away. And usually, like, and we didn't. I don't know how that even happened because me, Beth, and Mike were scheduled to be there, and I guess you guys were scheduled to be there too.
Well, no, actually, originally it was supposed to be Rhonda and Nikita and the Gypsies when she was part of the Southern Gypsies, but they all bailed except for Rhonda and Nikita, and that we was like, well, we'll go because we were wanting to go to Hinsdale. We were going to go to Hinsdale anyway. So she's like, well, I'll contact Beth and Taryn and see if you guys can come to in place of them and just come to Hinsdale or shoot to Wildwood. And we're like, sure. So that was the start of Rhonda and Nikita joining SRS too, was that trip
Yeah,
because we just had such I missed 2 weeks. We went on a road for 2 weeks together and well 10 days, and it was incredible. I mean, we did Wildwood, we did Hinsdale, then we went down to Salem and we did Lizzie Borden. So I mean it was a paranormal trip is what it was, and it
yeah,
ended
I
up being
remember.
an incredible thing.
Yeah, yeah, it was awesome. And you never know when you don't know somebody. You never know like how you're going to get along and how things are going to go and I got to tell you what was great about that was I learned new techniques from you guys, you know what I mean? And just it was almost like we knew each other already. It was
Yep.
crazy. It was awesome. So I'm very grateful for that
And I
weekend.
know this, Taryn, too. You're a lot like me. We're very selective who we do collaborative stuff with.
Yes.
And you're always that first time you hang out with somebody, you're always like, I don't know. We just were ourselves and you were yours. It was just perfect. I mean, we just
Yeah.
all hit it off so good. And we've stayed friends ever since. I mean, you and I have
Yes.
become really, really close over the years. And I'm appreciative of that weekend for sure.
Yeah, me too. Me too. All right, so let's talk some ghosties and mediums and field
Yeah.
of fears and so so Matt, as close as me and Matt were, I was unaware of his medium journey. And when he sent me his bio, I was like, oh, medium. I'm like, wow. I was like, I didn't
Yeah.
know this part. And he said, well, quietly, he told me, quietly I've been working on it and getting training and stuff. And now he says, and it's interesting. I just want to say it was interesting to me that you said I feel comfortable now
Yeah.
enough to own that title.
Yes.
Um, you want to explain just a little bit about that journey? You know,
Yeah, for sure. I think, and I'm sure you'll agree with this. If you spend enough time in the paranormal, saturating it the way that we do, and I'll give you a little background and give your audience a little background because it's been several years since I've been on your show. But um, If you spend enough time, and I spend a lot of time doing this, I'm a professional firefighter for a living. That's what my day job is. But I
Thank you for
equally
your
spend
service.
Oh, thank you. I equally spend as much time doing the paranormal stuff between investigations, residential cases, because we have a team, SRS Paranormal, which is my team that I co founded. So you were correct. I did co found SRS back in 2007. Actually, my journey started in 2005, but the team formed in '07. And now we have like 12 members. So we're a huge team. And the reason we're so big is because of the caseload. Residentials have slowed down a little bit over the last couple of years, but there was a time when residential work was keeping us extremely busy. You'll never see that on our Facebooks or our YouTubes or any of our socials because we could talk about this topic all night. But I think residential work is something, number one, you shouldn't do it until you have enough experience and knowledge.
Agreed.
And secondly, that's private. Those people are at their wits' end. They're desperate for trying to get answers. The last thing they want is what may be the most terrifying thing or the most explainable thing, whichever the case may be. They don't want that broadcasted on social media. So, that's a big part of the work that we don't ever talk about. But between that stuff, doing public events, because we do anywhere from 12 to 20 public nights a year at five historic sites in the region. We're the only team that has access to these state sites because of our reputation, which we've earned over the years. And we do that to save those sites. The big portion of those proceeds, basically we cover our insurance and we cover enough to in case our equipment gets damaged or whatever. But the rest of those proceeds goes to the sites to keep those sites open. And in one particular case, the Deary Inn in Blumpville, we actually raise more money from them with our events than they get from the county for their actual budget. So it's huge what we do for those sites. And I started to say all that to say this. I know you asked about the medium journey, but just giving background.
Right.
When you spend that much time investigating, going to some of the most notoriously haunted locations, doing residential work, you spend that much time with spirit. I think spirit really begins to become aware of you. And we all develop this sense, if you've done this long enough, to where you just can tell if a place is haunted, if a place isn't haunted. And if you start really paying attention to that energy, you start to kind of predict things. And you're very gifted, whether you want to own it or not, Taryn, but you are. I mean, I've investigated with you enough to know that you are definitely clairaudient. You hear EVPs before they happen. And that's an amazing thing. You're hearing it in real time, but we're capturing it in EVP, and the rest of us aren't necessarily hearing it. And I think anybody can develop those skills. You can develop and you can harness what you have, and you can develop what you have if you start paying attention to those energies. So for me, it started with becoming a Reiki practitioner. And I don't know if you will remember this or not, but and this is something that I thought of a couple years back, when we were at Wildwood, Beth looked at me and told me, she said, "You don't even have any idea of the spiritual gifts that you possess." And I said, "I don't know what you're talking about." And she said, "Oh, you do. Trust me, you will come into those." And I always filed that away as kind of a, yeah, whatever. She just thinks that maybe I have these abilities or whatever. But then other people like Rhonda started saying, Matt, you have abilities that you're not using. You need to become more self-aware of those abilities, and you need to start working on those things. So I fought it and fought it and fought it because that wasn't my path in my mind. My path was always going to be a researcher. I was always going to be about the tech. I was always going to be about the science. I was always going to be about that side of the coin. And then something happened that I just couldn't shake anymore. And we went to Brushy Mountain Penitentiary, and I had an experience that really kind of shook me. I felt something coming, and I identified, I could see in my mind's eye this man coming down the hall. And as I'm describing in what I'm getting, what I didn't realize is when Rhonda had done her mediumship reading, her psychic reading, about an hour before that, she encountered the exact same spirit with the exact same description, got the exact same details that I picked up on. So
Mhm.
when that happened, I could no longer deny that I was able to connect with things on a different level. So for a year, I worked with Rhonda first. She developed me for a while. Then we started working on this project for Randolph County Asylum. And Medium Sky Ray was one of the mediums we brought in for the project. I worked with Sky for another year, maybe a little longer than a year, developed a little further. Then after that, I studied under James von Prague for 6 months and went through his full mediumship certification program, and actually demonstrated the skills and did the practices to actually be able to work as a medium and be comfortable in saying that I actually can own that title and believe in that title now.
It's
Because you
all
know me, I wouldn't claim something I can't absolutely do.
right. No, I know that. I trust you. I've worked with you and investigated with you enough that that's why I said I was surprised when I saw that in your bio because you were always quiet if that's what you were working on. Like I never knew that. Like you've always been very quiet about it. So and I know that, you're not, one of these people that, you know, will fake and, this and that and what is this? I don't know what this is. Hold on, I'm sorry. I think I have to block somebody.
We're getting trolled.
I think so. I think that's what it is. That's okay. So
Happens a
just
lot.
give me 1 second. Sorry.
No, it happens a lot.
Okay.
And
Um,
and, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, no. All right. Go ahead.
No, and I was just going to say, yeah, that's one of the things I think that is so bad in our field in the paranormal space, and I don't want to get on a negative soapbox rant here, but I will just say this: there's too much faking, there's too much exaggeration, there's too much dramatization, there's too many people claiming things like mediumship that they really aren't. And I would caution anybody that if you're gonna work with a medium, if you're gonna work with a psychic, you can tell pretty quickly who actually can do the jobs and who can't. And I'm a big proponent of being able to do what you say you can do. Um, so
Yeah.
like I said, I wouldn't claim something I can't do.
Right. Right. Um, and I can vouch for you because, like I said, I've worked with you very closely. We've investigated together. Um, and there's never been anything that I have ever experienced with you where I was like, what is he talking about? Or he's just trying to make things something that it's not, or because and I'm not just saying that because you're on this show. I mean,
Right.
or you're my friend and you're talking to me. You know what I mean?
Well, I know you definitely wouldn't vouch for me if you didn't wholeheartedly believe that. So
It's
I appreciate that and love you dearly for it.
absolutely. So, I mean, we can still talk about that. I mean, I love that you're doing
Yeah,
that. But I do want to talk about the field of fears. I mean,
yeah,
4 years. I
yes,
remember. I do remember when you started this.
yeah.
And you
We
and
actually did your show. Jay Prather and I came on your show
right,
and talked about doing this project when we first were working on it.
right.
And yeah, so that was a little over 4 years ago.
So a little over 4 years ago, we started. Well, not we, but you, meaning you guys,
Yeah,
started to incorporate the field of fears. So can you just kind of take us through the timeline of field of fears?
sure. So you know me, I don't do anything on a small scale. If I decide to do something, I just go overboard. My wife thinks I'm insane because when I do, she rolls her eyes because like when I get an idea, she's like, "Oh God, here we go again, and what's this going to cost me?" So yeah, I'm an all in kind of person. So I had read about. Let me rephrase that. I had read about Randolph County Asylum. I'd seen it on a couple of things, and I had read about it. I thought, man, I'm just really intrigued. I'm really interested in this place. Well, the team decided they wanted to go, so we
And
booked it.
where's Randolph? Where's it
It's in
located?
Winchester, Indiana,
Okay,
and they decided they wanted to go. Excuse me. I thought I was gonna sneeze, but I guess not. Um, they were going to go, and at the time my wife was going through breast cancer, so I was not able to go. She ended up being too sick for me to travel, and I had to miss that trip. Well, they went, and that's all they talked about when they got back for like 2 or 3 weeks, how how intense the experience were and the stories and this visceral connection that they had to the site. And I thought, man, I really want to experience this place. I really want to tell its story. So Now, my approach is a little different than it was 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I would really study a place and know everything I could know about its history and its background because I wasn't working from the mediumship side of the coin. I was working from the researcher side completely. So I would dive into a place, and that's why I have 2 actual degreed historians on the team, is for this very reason, so that we get our facts right and that we know the history because you can say something or you can feel something, but without something to back it up, it becomes really hard to validate that, or at least validate that in a sense of, conventional research standards or an academic standard, I guess, if you will.
Sure.
So now I go in cold. I let the other investigators, the other portion of the team that doesn't work from that side of the coin, that those of us on this side do, they do all the research now. They get all the facts, and we go and see what we get. We see what lines up and what don't, and then we go from there. But getting back to the film, I just got engrossed with this place. I just started reading about it, and the more I dug in, the more stories that I found, the more I wanted to tell its story. I want to tell the story of what an asylum was because I think what's the first thing that comes to mind when I say asylum to you?
Um, not good conditions for
Yeah.
the people that were housed in these locations.
Like Arkham, Batman, we're thinking lunatic asylum where people are tortured, right?
Yeah.
That is the general consensus for most people in the paranormal space is that asylums are these torture facilities. That's not an actual fair definition for what asylums often were. These county poorhouses were, yes, there was some mistreatment happening in any facility, I'm sure, but they weren't as dark as some of the places were. In fact, a lot of these places that existed because back in that time, if you did not meet society's norms, you didn't meet their standard, you were locked away in these places. So I wanted to tell the story of what these asylums were and kind of give that contrast between what we think they are and what they actually are, and then the stories that go with them, the spirits that may still linger there. And it just was an idea. So I thought, I'm going to do this, right? I'm going to do this documentary. So, what do I know about filmmaking? Absolutely nothing. What do I know about storytelling? Absolutely nothing. What do I know about any of that? I don't know anything about any of it. But what I do know is I want to do this. So I call Rhonda and I call Kevin and I call a few of the others on the team that I knew would be supportive of this crazy idea and said, "Hey, I want the team to come and do this, and I want to invite some special guests, and we're going to shoot a documentary." First thing Kevin says to me is, "Okay, what do you know about shooting documentaries?" I said, "Nothing." He said, "Well, I know a guy that actually does some TV production stuff. Let me give him a call and see if we can maybe get some, film people." So I get a meeting with them, and we get a camera crew, and we get an audio technician, and a sound mixer, and we're like, okay, cool, let's go do this thing. So reach out to Jay Prather. I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I don't want to just do what you see on every single ghost hunting show. I want to do something different. I want to do something bigger. So I called Jay. Now, those of you that don't know who JW Prather is, if you have seen about any paranormal television where they use a spirit box, that's not an SB7 or a ghost stop, whatever that thing is that they sell, real research devices that are used, you will see that, you'll see his devices. They're called IDC devices. So I called Jay and I said, Jay, I really want to do this project. Are you interested? And he's like, yeah, it'd be cool. Let's do it. Well, at the time, he was working a lot with Justin Spurrier, who used to be one of the tech guys for uh, Ghost Adventures, behind the scenes, keeping up with the equipment, doing that kind of stuff. He was never on camera, but he had a lot of equipment of his own, and he was working with Jay. So I put the team together. Renium Sky Ray was somebody that we had done some stuff with prior to that, so I reached out to her, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm in." So we all traveled to Indiana, and we show up to film this project. I've got a camera guy, I've got a sound mixer. They look at me and they say, "Okay, Mr. Director, now what?" I'm like, "I don't know." So yeah, so here we go, right? So through caution to win, what the hell, see what happens. And, we started filming and we started getting stuff like immediately, even during setups on interviews, stuff was
Wasn't
happening.
wasn't so I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
No, you're fine.
wasn't Jay at that time, and I'm gonna dumb it down because I'm not
Yeah.
a techie person, so I don't understand a lot of it, but Wasn't at that time he working on some, like, type of a grid or something like that that
Yeah,
would
yeah. Yes, you're absolutely right, and thank you for I get lost on rabbit holes sometimes, so, you're absolutely right. What he was trying to do, he's perfected now, and really Field of Fears was the jump off for this. It was his first test run for it. So we decided we're gonna wire this 58,000 square foot asylum for real-time communication, real-time EVP where we could monitor every single place there was a satellite throughout this 58,000 square feet, we could tell where sounds were coming from, what rooms they were coming from, what locations they were in the room, and compare that to what we knew was noise contamination. And Jay was working on this system that could do that. That was called the intercom system. And essentially, if you think of a bunch of satellite speakers and microphones where you're listening to the entire building in real time, or broadcasting a spirit box through the entire building, or if you hook a seance table to it and put your energy from a seance table into the boxes, you're projecting not only your voice, but theoretically your energy through the entire building. And those are the type of experiments we did. We also did an experiment where we used the world's largest Bluetooth speakers. We recreated the fire using frequencies associated with traumatic frequencies. Now we could get deep into quantum physics here because that's Jay's wheelhouse. And what we were using was a lot of Nikolai Tesla's research on Schumann frequency and resonant frequency. And we were using those frequencies to see if residual energy, this is important, if residual energy could be jump started, or if intelligent energy or intelligent hauntings would react to that chaos. Now, there was a lot of discussions. Is that ethical? Is this fair to the spirits? Is this fair to everything? And what we determined in that was yes, because the approach we were taking was to recreate the environment and then try to see if we could jumpstart any residual activity. Could we catch anything from that? So think of the stone tape theory when we talk about, when we talk about stone tape theory, it's that residual release of energy. So we took a very ethical approach to doing that. We were very respectful to spirit before and after, and we made sure that they understood what we were doing as best that we could. And we did the experiments, and it worked. We had activity. We actually had activity that would match up with what probably would have happened in those chaotic moments. So we try to do things and push the envelope to do things that people haven't seen before. And we did it with success because even where we didn't maybe have an immediate piece of evidence that was completely tangible, we accomplished it because we actually did it and we pulled it off, and that in its own right was a success. The reason it became a 4-year project was because two things. First, there was a lot of questions after we did the first round of experiments. There was a lot of thought. There was a lot of like, well, what happens with this and what happens with that piece? Where does that go from here? And that led to, okay, let's go back and do some more trips. Let's go back and do some more investigative trips. Let's go back and do some more history trips to just sit and interview. Let's go back and dig through records. Let's go back and so it was multiple trips to Indiana, not only for production, but also for research and for just making sure that we were accurate in a story that we were telling. And that to us was the most important thing, was to be accurate with that. So yeah, so that was why it took 4 years, and we wanted to tell the story accurately, and then of course it takes time in post. In that process, the other thing that had to happen is I had to learn how to become a director. I had to learn how to become an editor. I had to learn how to become a cinematographer and an audio mixer, because at $1,800 for a sound mixer and $1,500 for a camera guy for a weekend, I could not afford to keep paying people to do it. So I bought the gear and just learned. I just learned the process.
editing, I can't imagine. I can't, like, I don't know how to, I don't even know how to edit my audio recordings. Like, I just know how to clip
Yeah.
where there might be an EVP. I don't know how people edit even that. So I can't imagine editing. Like, I don't even know how, this is why I do live. I can't pre-record and then edit a show. I don't know how to do it. You know what I mean? So,
I had to learn it all.
here.
The master classes and trial and error, and a lot of time sitting in front of a computer going, "Oop, that didn't work."
Yeah.
Followed by a lot of cuss words, and then let's try this. So yeah, that was a lot of it. But
So
I'm proud of it because I mean it's doing well. It's being received well. The audience likes it. The critics are noticing it, and it's won several awards now at several film festivals. So I'm quite proud of it.
that's awesome. And so where can people find it, like, to watch it?
Yeah. So currently, it is available for rent and purchase on Amazon. It is available on Google Play. It's available on YouTube Rental. It's also going to be releasing any day now on Tubi. It was picked up on December 7th for Tubi. I don't, that can take anywhere from 2 months to 4 months for stuff to go live after they pick up the rights to it. It's a process with any of these streaming services. But Indie Rights is who I have the distribution deal through. So it will be coming available on a bunch more platforms over the next several months. In addition to their YouTube channel, will have it if it doesn't already. Let's see, and then we'll be coming to DVD and Blu-ray in a couple of weeks too, because I've already sent everything off for that. So it'll be available for physical media.
So I know it took 4 years in the making of this, which is amazing. And to me, that just shows that you guys really did what you need to do as far as research goes, as far as making sure this is done right, as far as making sure you're giving the respect of what actually happened in this location to the residents, whether they were there now, whether they're, the ghosties, or they're, you know what I mean? Like, you respectfully did this. Is it a series, or is it like a just a one long, like, how long is it? Or is it like a series of shows, or is it one
Nope,
continuous?
it's one continuous feature, and that is one thing I guess lessons learned being my first project. I guess the negative feedback has been a little too long, but I really tried my best. Hello, Beth. I
Speaking of
really
Beth, we were
I
talking
know,
about
right? I was
you
talking about her earlier. Um,
earlier.
but I really tried my best to show, and I guess this is the difference between those of us in para and those that are not in para. Those of us in para, we want to see the recipe. We want to see as much of what's happening for context. The general audience does not. The general audience wants to see the result. So it's a fine line as a filmmaker to do two things. One, you have to make it interesting enough to where there's a little bit of suspense and there's a little bit of, for lack of better words, entertainment value.
Right.
But that's a fine line from taking away from the authenticity of what it is that we do. So it's important to kind of straddle that fence, right? But I put in as much context as I thought I would need to see as a researcher, and unfortunately, I think that fatigues the average viewer a bit. So lesson learned is it could be shorter. It's 109 minutes currently.
That's not bad. That's not
Yeah.
bad.
For paranormal enthusiasts and for people who really love paranormal, those people have told me that to them it did not. It went by very fast. They didn't feel that way. But I think for some people that are not necessarily paranormal enthusiasts, the average watcher, that has been the only thing is it could have been a little shorter. So I mean, lessons learned, right?
Well, it's the same thing if I go live during an investigation. If I go
Yep.
live for an investigation, people lose interest very quickly because
Yep.
nothing's going on. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Most of the times there's nothing happening.
Exactly.
I did a 3.5 hour long investigation at the Octagon Mansion in Withville, Virginia. And there were people watching, but not many. I mean, people lose interest. Like, because they want to see, you know what I mean? They want to see
They
the
want the
face.
ESPN highlight reel,
Yeah. And then,
or they
yeah,
want the dramatization. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
right. There's two questions I want to ask you really
Yeah,
quick, Matt. So,
sure.
Sage, hi, Sage. You've investigated over 20 years. How many of those years have you done as a medium?
The last 5 years, I've been developing my medium skills. While I was doing this project, I was also developing my medium skills. So this is going to sound crazy to a lot of people, but people who know me won't find this crazy at all. I have a little bit of an obsessive personality when it comes to things. So my escape from the stress of editing and building this project was working on my spiritual side, was working on my self-care for me, was doing my Reiki, was doing developing my mediumship, working on those programs. That's where I went to get away from the pressure and stress of trying to put out my first film and build a production company. as
Awesome.
weird as that sounds, plus balancing a full-time job as a fireman.
Yeah. Yeah, that is. I don't know how you're doing it. I don't have time to clean my house, and I'm not even doing half the stuff you're doing. Boo Productions Paranormal. Hey, Boo. He says if you are doing it for Tubi and such, that is not a long. That's not too long, in his opinion. He says, in my opinion, that is not too long. I don't think so either. 109 minutes isn't long at all, especially when you think you've got 4 years
Yeah.
into it. 4 years into it. You know what I mean? Like that's. I mean, I think you did pretty good with keeping it. Hello, lady. The special ladies watching.
Yeah, I know her. That'd be my wife.
um, high problematic says it's even harder if you work nights a long time.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. Yes.
Very true.
Yes. Yeah. And then we have one more, Laura Ross. Hi, Laura. Do you guys feel that some spirits are happy to finally have a voice? Do you feel that talking with some spirits become more or less angry talking with them? I think I read
Yes,
that right.
that is a fantastic point. And yes, in my experience in the paranormal, 100%, especially as I've gotten into the medium side of things, sometimes I think two things happen. One thing I hate is the word demon that is thrown around so ridiculously. Every dark haunting or heavy haunting is labeled demonic, which I think is insane. Do I think demonic hauntings exist? Yes. Do I think that there are negative entities out there? Absolutely. Do I think there's inhuman things out there? Yep, I've encountered those things. I think that sometimes angry spirits get mislabeled. I think sometimes physical altercations that occur are angry spirits. They are, or they're just nasty spirits. And to put that in context, if you go to a prison, yes, there are some people that are in prison that probably shouldn't be, but there are also a lot of people that should be there. So let's take Jack the Ripper, ladies. If you were to encounter Jack the Ripper in the afterlife, do you think he's going to be all teddy bears and roses? The answer is no. Spirits are, in my experience, the way they are in life is the way they are in death. So if somebody's an asshole in life, chances are they're going to be an asshole in the spirit world too
Mhm.
when you encounter them. So, to answer that question, yes, I do absolutely think sometimes all spirits need is validation. They just want to be heard, they just want their story told. And our job, whether you're a medium or an investigator or a researcher, it's not about a thrill. It's not about an experience to go, oh, look, I've had this happen. While that's cool and we love it and it's what keeps us going, that's not what it's about. It's about paying respect to those spirits and to those locations, telling those stories and being authentic as you can to what that history is and to what those spirits are trying to tell you, at least in my humble opinion.
Yes. And I couldn't have said that better myself. And I'm not a medium, but I would say that I agree with you. Um, let's see. There's one more. Okay. Boo Productions wants to know, do you have any other documentaries in the works?
Yes, while we were doing this, so whenever you do production, anybody that does production work will understand this. There is always something in development ideas. There's always something in pre production. There's always something in production. There's always something in post. And there's always something already out there in the world. So, to answer that this way, while we were developing this and working on this, we were also developing other projects. In fact, last year we filmed a project that's in post right now. It's called Into the Light. I'm not sure exactly when we're going to get it completely out. It's in post production currently, but myself, Rhonda, and Tori, and two of the other mediums that are on the team, we work a cold case. It's a murder from this area that happened in the 1970s of a 12-year-old child, and we dive into that case. And we work with a retired police officer and his wife, who is actually a psychic author, and it was her story. And we worked that case, and some of the information that we tapped into was in sealed court records that nobody had seen for 50 years because we got them unsealed and we were able to validate stuff that we got during the filming. So that's going to be an amazing project when it comes out. I think people are going to really enjoy seeing that side of it because it's the emotional connection to connecting with spirit, telling that story, and showing, the outcome of that. The case did have an outcome anyway. There's nothing that's not already known about that, so it wasn't like a cold case where we solved the cold case, but we brought to light some things that were definitely in the community and definitely in the sealed court records as suspicions that we hit on and validated that we could not have known without those sealed court records. So that's one project that will be coming out later this year. We are currently filming another documentary called Bloodstone and Silence. That project is about Nickerson State House, where
Oh,
we're
cool.
yeah, Rhonda is the owner of that location, our lead medium on the team, and my partner, one of my partners in the production company. We are filming that documentary currently. We filmed the first round of it last month. We've got a couple more filming days for that one. That one will probably come out quicker than Into the Light, just for the simple fact that a lot of the other investigation footage we have from that is from we've been headquartered there for 7 or 8 years now, so we're going to have a lot of that old footage from stuff that we did there that will be part of that as well. So kind of a found footage thing. And then we're also developing a TV series. Not sure for which platform yet. I am talking to two what you would call niche platforms for Para, and it is not Paraflix. It's two other ones, and I'll leave it at that. And I'm not sure which one I'm going to settle with yet, but it's called Conjuring Truth, and it's where we are looking at occultism, dark hauntings. Are they really connected to occult magic? Or is occult magic just something that is the excuse used for these hauntings? Are they really connected? What are these practices about? Are there things that we should be afraid of? How much of Hollywood stuff is real and how much of Hollywood stuff is exaggerations? And what's the truth about occultism? So that's another project that we're currently working on.
Interesting topic because that's been, um, you know, a topic of discussion with my current circle of friends that I've known to love and Truth or Demons podcast. If you have never checked it out, she's does really dive into the Warrens, and it's
Yeah,
kind of sounds like I mean you should hook up with her and talk to her and
for
get some
sure.
feedback because she's really done a lot of research into the Warrens and has talked to a lot of those. So, do you consider the Warrens a cult?
Yeah. Yeah. I think some of their theories were.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
yeah, but what I would consider a cult and what I think other people consider cult are two very different things. The occult is generally labeled when people hear the word occult, they automatically think Satan, demons, and one plane of things. The occult is basically anything esoteric. It's any type of practice that is not mainstream. It's not necessarily Christian. It's anything but Christianity in a sense. I am really dumbing this down or paraphrasing this, if you will.
Yeah.
The occult is much much deeper than that, but the occult is all those different practices. It's the things that are not mainstream religion. And I think a lot of people have a big misconception of what true occultism is. True occult practitioners are people like myself that study different things and we look at different magic paths, we look at different belief systems, Kabbalah, esoteric magic, Crowley's teachings. We look at these different things not from a religious where you're worshiping at respect, but from an education respect to understand these different things and these different disciplines. So the show that we're working on is going to be involving true occult practitioners, and we will be talking to real practitioners of these crafts with full respect to their craft and to their magic or to their systems, and allowing the audience to see what they'll allow of their practice, but to teach people the truth about esoteric practices. So that is the purpose of that. So I think we have to really watch the word occult, what it means, what people think it means. It's like the Ouija board thing. Everybody has a thought on Ouija boards. Some people will tell you they're 1-900 Satan. You touch one, you're going straight to hell. Other people, like myself, have used them in some of the most haunted, supposed demonic places on the planet. Yep, there you go. And guess what? I'm still here, not been possessed. So it's a tool like anything else. I think occultism is more about looking in oneself and understanding your self spirituality and also working on your shadow work and the things inside you more than it is about necessarily worshiping a deity. Although there are aspects of cultism that definitely incorporate that. Again, I'm really bringing that down to a smaller thing.
No, I hear you.
Hey,
And
entities, I know them guys.
yeah, Joe Vital, he says that
Yep,
great to
I know
see
Joe.
another Tennessee bro doing docs. I live about 30 minutes from the Nickerson Sneed house, and he investigated it a couple of times.
Him and Matt Benton have done some pretty good projects you guys may be aware of. They did the Harrison, the Conjuring House, the True Conjuring House story, and they did their latest one, Evil on Earth, which is I believe it's the Monroe House, which was a great film also. So
I also want to let you know Biospirit and I think Leanne, the Pitbull, they agreed with when you were talking about spirit being angry in life and they're angry. Biospirit was saying that's what I think too. When you die, all your old habits become metaphysical instincts and they lose the ability to reason. Um, and let's see.
interesting.
Yes. Oh, and then Biospirit also says, I grew up playing Silent Hill, so I got a good education in occult.
I guess
Megan, Megan,
K-pop Demon Hunter is probably another good go-to for some. No, I'm making a joke, but no, I think it is important to understand these things. One of the things I and not to cut you off, Taryn, but this is just a thought about
no,
this
no,
same
fine,
topic.
please. This is your show, not
When I started really getting into paranormal, when I had my first experience in 2005, it wasn't about for me it wasn't about having more experiences. It was really about proving that people have experiences and that there's no such thing as paranormal, but because of the experience that I had. But what I found was the complete opposite, and part of that journey for me was spending a lot of time studying ancient civilizations. I actually took a course through Harvard X. It was an 18-month program called it was about occult. It was about basically um, ancient civilizations, soothsayers, oracles and prophecy, and that sort of thing. And it was looking at an academic standpoint of these ancient civilizations, what their belief system was. And the interesting thing that I found in that journey, in that part of my journey, was no matter how far back we go in written history, no matter what culture we look at on the planet, there are two common threads, or three common threads. The first is there's an afterlife of some sort. Every single civilization since recorded history believes in some form of an afterlife. The second common thread is there are good and bad parts of the afterlife in the spirit world. There is a good and negative, angels, demons, jinn, whatever you want to call these different things. All around the world are these different names for demons, these different names for angels. So there's a clear thing there. And the third thing was, despite the distance between all these civilizations at a period of time when they couldn't have talked. We're going back to early civilizations here, Mesopotamia, well before any of modern day stuff existed there, and yet these we were seeing the same thing there as we were seeing where the Mayans were, and we were seeing where all these different cultures were, even though they had no connection at that time. They were still having these similarities through all those things. So there has to be something to the spirit world and the living and all of that, because even all these thousands of years later, we still have that core belief. So there's definitely something to it. And
right.
so I just think that research is important, whether you're doing it from a spiritual aspect, whether you're doing it from a paranormal aspect, or whether you're doing it from an occultist perspective. Understanding and truly understanding what you're dealing with is important.
So Joe was saying, first I think he said, let me see. So for that documentary you are talking about, might want to look into the Euro Shrine here in Bristol, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And then Adrian, she answered and said that you guys, we are elders at the shrine.
Yes, we were elders at the Irish Shrine in Bristol.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
Jing,
But thank you, Joe. You're absolutely right. Oh,
yeah, I just want to give a shout out to Jing, who's in Indonesia. So we're being watched
wow.
in
Super
Indonesia.
cool.
So thank you, Jing. She's off to class. So she said I wanted to just say hi before I go to class. She's a teacher, so she teaches.
Very cool.
So she would say, and then Joe said you guys did a banger job on RCI.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate that.
Um,
Likewise on your projects.
Boo Productions, Jeff asks, do you think some of the darker occult practices can curse and do harm to people?
Absolutely. I think anything can do harm unchecked. Too much of anything can be harmful. If you drink too much water, it can be harmful. If you eat too much McDonald's, it can be harmful. So everything is can be harmful, right? I don't think the occult is an exception to that. I think that especially when what I have found, and when you talk to true practitioners of these different arts, the harm thing is a kind of a it's not something that that often there's an exchange, right? So everything that we do has an exchange, whether it be a karmic exchange, whether it be an energy exchange, whether it be whatever. If you're working with a deity, if you're working with an entity, there is an expectation, right? So there has to be a give and take. So if you're going to curse or harm somebody, which can be done, and it is an absolute real thing, I'm 100% believer that these things can be done, but at a cost. So I don't think a lot of people are running around here cursing people arbitrarily. Do I think people that have we live in a society where everything is instant, right? Whether it is playing at your Xbox or getting on your phone or whatever, we want instant gratification. When we start talking about occultism, we start talking about the spirit world, that is something that you're dabbling in that is much, much bigger than we are. And what happens is I think misguided people get a small little bit of information. That's the ones that are really dangerous because now they run with that information and they sometimes inadvertently do open doors and problems. I think that absolutely is a real thing. But I think again it goes back to understanding, researching and really learning what you're doing before you do it.
It's so true. Like there's things like when I first started investigating and started getting into the paranormal and I didn't know. I mean, I was buying everything. So I have runes, I have uh what are the tarot cards, I have all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? I have crystals and I mean, I don't touch any of this stuff. I've never used the runes I have. Because I got them because I thought I had to have them, right? Like I thought,
Right.
I was just trying to get everything I could possible while I was being taught, you know what I mean? And yet this bag of
For sure.
runes sits in my bag because and I'm not, I don't feel comfortable, you
Right.
know, using stuff that I'm not sure about, and I am a superstitious person. So I'm like, I'm not messing with nothing if I don't know what I'm messing with.
But see but that's the most sage advice you can give somebody. I don't care what it is. If you're not comfortable using a spirit box and Estes, then don't. Because that's the golden rule. You gotta take care of your own energy and protect yourself and be safe. So if you're not comfortable doing something, you shouldn't do it. But that doesn't mean other people shouldn't either. So, and I love to use the Ouija board example for that. I do this at every single public. I pull out a Ouija board, and actually, the one I pull out isn't even one that's ever been used. It's really just a prop we made for the sake of class. It's not even, I mean, you can use anything as a board. You can write it out on a napkin and use a
Right,
Dorito and use it as a Ouija
right.
board if you wanted to. But this one's never been worked, right? It's not actually been used. But I pull that board out as a conversation piece, and at least 50% of my audience will immediately freak out and go, "Oh, I'm not touching that. That's straight. That's oh no, that's the devil." And I'm like, well, no, it's a board. It's a piece of wood. It's intent. It's all about intent. And that's the
Well,
point we make. I hold up that recorder and say, what's the difference if I
exactly.
walk in here with this recorder and I say, talk to me, touch me, communicate through me? That's no different than putting your hands on the planchette of a Ouija board. It's the same thing.
100%. I was just
And
gonna
that's
say
the
that.
point I
I
was
was
making.
gonna say that. It's my recorders, which I use mostly recorders,
Oh, yeah,
it's no different. It's just a digital Ouija board, really.
100%.
It's just a
It's
digital Ouija
intent.
board.
It's
Yeah.
all about your intent, your mindset, your protection, your intent. That's the difference too between the experiences you have in a place. If you go in looking for dark shit, you will find dark shit. If you go in looking for positive things and positive outcomes, you're more likely to find that. Or you might find nothing at all because sometimes there's just nothing happening.
Um, Biospirit is saying, I believe sometimes it's a matter of personal paradigm. You are in that affects the metaphysical you will see, like a duality paradigm. I heard that saying,
100%.
right? For example,
Yes.
we'll see things differently from me.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, duality is a very important thing. So it's funny you mentioned duality because that's the thing about the shrine. So Joe had mentioned the shrine in Bristol. The shrine is an amazingly unique place. There's no other place like it on in the world that I've ever been, and I truly mean that because of the practices that are done there, and everything has been done there that you can think of under the sun. But duality is the theme. There is light and dark throughout the whole thing. So duality is such a thing not only in life but especially in paranormal. And that is 100% true, what they're saying. And that's kind of the point I was making. If you go in with one mindset, you may have a different experience than somebody else. The other thing that I think is not talked about enough in paranormal is your spiritual baggage. And I see this all the time with publics. We will have a great night if the energy is right. We'll have a bad night if somebody brings some bad baggage with them. It's not necessarily what's happened at the site, it's what they're bringing to the table with them. So your spiritual baggage is important too. I didn't get to read that comment. I'm sorry.
Oh, oh,
Was it a question or just a comment?
it was just a comment.
Oh, okay.
It's funny when locations say no Ouija boards, but
Yeah.
then they have a Ouija board in their location.
Yep.
And a lot of people are agreeing, like it's all about the intention. Beth O'Brien is saying it's about the intention. Joe says he agrees. There really isn't a difference between a digital recorder and a Ouija board, just another form of communication. Um,
Absolutely.
Biospirit is saying I came across Christian that believes they have to follow 613 commandments to see a real life miracle, where others are more agnostic. Modern duality paradigm
Paradigm. Yep. Paradigm. Yep.
can determine a lot of what you see.
For sure. For sure. And that's another fantastic point too. A lot of it's your upbringing too. And that's
Yes.
where for me, I was raised Catholic, like Catholic as Catholic can be. But I'm now call myself a recovering Catholic because I kind of there was a lot of things for me, and I have nothing against Christianity, and don't take this out of context. But for me, there was a lot of things the church would say in church law, and I saw stuff that was being done in reality, and it was like, no, just not my cup of tea. So I started looking for other things too. So I think your personal experiences and beliefs definitely have an impact on what you bring to the table. It's very hard for somebody who is dug into one particular belief system to see anything but that belief system. So they're absolutely correct. Your experience also dictates a lot of this too, for sure.
Oh yeah. Um, Goth is saying some people think that people drop energy, darker energy before they go to heaven, and what they leave behind becomes the residual haunting. So an automated thought form.
Yeah,
I
I,
mean,
I've
anything's
heard that theory.
possible.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing about this. I don't think any of us know. We've all got theories. And
Yeah,
here's the thing, 20 plus years of doing this, literally hundreds, and I mean literally hundreds of investigations for me at some of the most haunted places in this country. Um, and I have more questions today and more theories today. I have a whole book of theories of stuff I'm working on that I'm testing out all the time
yep,
because it changes for me. So I don't think there is one true right answer in this. And I think that that's what makes it so fascinating. That's why I also hate when people throw off. And if somebody's faking, if somebody's doing something unethical or wrong, that's not what I'm talking about. But if somebody has a method, and you said it earlier, Taryn, I've learned stuff from you, you've learned stuff from me. That's what it should be about because none of us have the go to book. There is no go to book. It's all about as long as you're ethical and you're above board and you're respectful. I don't really care what your methods are. You may do something really cool I've never seen before. We don't have to always do all the same tried and true things for that to be the only true paranormal. And
yeah,
I think that's one of the things that drives me nuts is when I hear people saying, well, you're not doing it right because this is the only way to do something. And I'm not talking about having controls and practices. I'm talking about methodology, which are different than you should always have controls and certain practices that you follow. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, I think there's more than one way to fry the fish in this case.
yeah. I mean, I agree. I mean, you know, uh, uh, you know, when I first started, everything was paranormal. Ignorance was bliss. Like I was just like
Oh
running
yeah,
around, like, yeah, look, pareidolia, my pictures, and
for sure, for sure.
everything was paranormal. Now, I'm like, No, I lean more towards the skeptic believer, where I still
Sure.
believe that I'm more skeptic now than I ever have been, you know what I
Right.
mean? And not saying that I still don't believe.
Yeah.
I wanna believe. You know, I wanna believe that I am going to see my mom and my dad. I wanna believe that there is this afterlife and that there is, that there is something after this. I don't wanna not believe that.
Right.
So, I don't do this to try to prove it to anybody. I do it for myself, you know,
Exactly.
because I wanna know. I want answers, and
Exactly.
all it does is bring more answers. I mean, or more questions.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure. And I think that you just hit on another good point too is you have to be realistic in everything that you do. And I think that there's so much stuff that does happen that is truly spirit or unexplainable around us every single day. And as I've gone into the mediumship side, I see that more and more and I experience that more and more. So I think plenty of stuff happens that you don't ever need to exaggerate a moment because there's plenty of real stuff that happens. But by the same token, there's a lot of stuff that can be explained. There's so much stuff. There's so like talking about the film for a second. In 4 years, multiple trips, there is I literally have hundreds of hours of footage and audio that we went through. You're seeing the ESPN highlight reel in that 109 minutes, for lack of better words. There's plenty of stuff that I cut. Some of it I added back for the deleted scenes for the DVD, but the reality is there's so much stuff I threw out because I couldn't validate it. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it wasn't validatable. There was no way, there was no checks and balance to say that it was not explainable. So the stuff that we left in was stuff for either you to determine if you think it is when we're talking about the spirit box stuff, or like for example, I just released a clip 2 or 3 days ago. It's part of the film, but all the time I spent doing the editing, I didn't see it. One of the viewers sent it to me that has seen the film, sent me a message and said, "Hey, did you see the shadow person walk behind you in the fire scene?" And I said, "No, I didn't. So let me go look at it." So I pulled all the raw footage from that, pulled all the camera angles because I still have all that, looked through all that footage and checked the logs. There was only 3 people down in that basement. It was me, Justin, and Kevin is behind Justin in that other room, waiting on myself because he was acting as the producer. He's waiting on myself and Justin to come in there start the experiment. So there's nobody on that other hall. There's nobody downstairs. Know that for a fact. Yet you can clearly see over my shoulder what looks like a man's silhouette in all black walk behind us and go into another room. I
well,
didn't see it. I mean, I watched that stuff 1,000 times, Taryn, and didn't see it. This viewer saw it, and now I can't unsee it, and I validated it. It's real. It's there. It's 100% a catch. It's not a person. It's not a trick of the camera. It is 100% something walking through that frame that is not any of us. Nothing that was there that night
very cool.
could cause that. So yeah,
That's awesome. Um, um, Beth says, we're always learning and growing. We'll never master this. I believe we're not supposed to have
absolutely.
all the answers, and I agree with that.
Absolutely.
It sucks, but I agree.
I
I
think
wish
we've evolved to that next plane once we have, and we don't need to be here anymore.
right. And Biosphere is saying it's probably multiple choice depending on circumstance. I can see people leaving negative energy just like I can see deja vu being a tiny seizure or possibly someone experiencing the exact same thoughts. Hold on, thoughts of feelings of another.
Sure.
Um, and Goth
But
is saying,
what I think she's talking about there is energy transference. So it's also the same thing when we talk about if you have 5 or 6 people in a room, right? And somebody experiences something and now all of a sudden everybody else does. Did they actually experience it or was that energy transferred amongst them? So anybody who's ever done energy or healing work knows Reiki. If you've ever had a Reiki healing, you have felt that energy transfer. If you've ever done anything with dowsing rods or pendulums or those type of things, there is a definite energetic current that goes through there. So energy transference is a real thing. And it can be a real thing in terms of an experience, or it can also be the same thing as you and I go out here and look at the sky, the pareidolia thing, and we look at the clouds, and you say, I see a dragon. All of a sudden, I see a dragon too. The same thing can happen energetically. So when we work on the spiritual side of things, we work on the mediumship side, we work on the energy side of things, that is a constant thing that we are self checking as well. we have to self check that, because if you have to be careful, especially when you're working with others that tap into that same thing. It's about keeping that balance. One of us always has to stay sort of that neutral, and the
Right,
others are tapped in. The other one is kind of the ground, right?
right,
So that's
right.
one of the ways we work together. Beth would probably understand exactly what I'm talking about with that when you work with other mediums.
Um, so got the saying, clairmerance is derived from limerence. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Do you know what limerence is? I do not. Um, I don't know if you do, but I don't. Uh, Gothel said I registered clairmerance with ChatGPT. Biospirit says, like with Bigfoot, I think it's possible it's a ghost of Neanderthal people and a metaphysical phenomenon from a collective beliefs. I think it's multiple things, not one theory to explain the phenomenon of like ghosts, like saying ghost. Um, Leanne, the pitbull, is saying interesting evidence. Joe is saying when we were filming TV intros at Randolph, we heard a female yelling. There was one female with us, nobody outside. I wish I had the audio running when we all heard it. This is why I don't ever turn my recorders off. And I let the rest of the girls do EVP bursts because,
So
yeah,
that gave me chills just now, and I know, like I said, I know Joe, and I did not know that story. That's really awesome, because in the DVD version, the Blu-ray version, there is a clip of an extended clip that I put in talking about evidence that we couldn't rule in, rule out kind of stuff. This one was just I cut for time. I didn't rule it out or rule it out per se. But we're downstairs in the basement and in one of the other rooms, and we're sitting at a table. The group of us that was investigating, we're the only ones in the building at this point in time. The rest of the building is locked and sealed off. And one of the ladies that was with us there, Brandy Goodpaster, she's also a medium. We hear a scream, this audible woman yelling at the top of her lungs. We hear the scream. You can barely hear it on the audio, but it's there, and we heard it in real time. So when Joe said that, it actually kind of gave me goosebumps, because we experienced that same screaming woman, and the only females that were on site were in the room with us at the time.
yeah,
So
and
yeah, that's
nobody
pretty awesome.
screams like that. That happened to me at
No, gosh, no.
Rolling Hills Asylum. There was a group of 25 of us, and I heard 3 of us heard this, like, psych scream from down the like, people just aren't gonna do that, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, maybe, but, the
They're going to be asked to
likelihood.
leave if they're at my one of my events.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I mean, there was I mean, we ran and tried to find tried to locate a source, and there was not. Um But, Joe says, "Never fails when not recording something happens." It's so true.
For sure.
Reiki is a pathway to abilities some consider to be unnatural.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, there's a bunch of different theories on all this stuff. There's people that swear the occultism is nothing more than worshiping Satan. So I mean, it's yeah. I personally am a Reiki practitioner, and I see Reiki as a healing modality more than anything else.
um, Biospirit saying, "You would need a GoPro-like thing and record a haunted spot 24 hours and comb it. It's a ton of work to really do the science."
Yeah.
I I
Well,
I
and, and I think where the science thing becomes very difficult is in the fact that to have science, you have to have what? To have a true scientific method, you have to be able to recreate the environment every single time. You have to have a control. You have to be able to recreate the circumstances in the environment exactly every single time to get the same result over and over to prove or disprove your hypothesis. That is the scientific method basically defined, right? It's impossible until we can actually capture a ghost, put it in the lab, keep it in the lab, recreate the exact environmental conditions every single time. We're never going to be able to look at this from a true scientific method standpoint. I'm sorry, but that is just a fact. This is never going to be science. It's always going to be a pseudoscience at best. So that's why we have to stop saying I'm right and you're wrong and just see what the collective evidence is. And the collective evidence is there's a lot of people out here doing really, really good work, many of them on this podcast in the comments out here doing fantastic work. Your group, Taryn, my group, a bunch of people. There's thousands of people. There's thousands of people doing shit work, but there's thousands of people doing real work. And the collective thing is we are all documenting something that is unexplainable.
Right.
There is
For
something
sure.
to this, science aside.
Absolutely. And there's a difference between the fakers and the people that
Correct.
investigate and might make a mistake, right?
Oh, sure.
Like
We've all
some
done that.
yeah, like sometimes I've debunked my own EVPs. I have
100%.
sent stuff to Kenny to help me to try to figure out what something is, and I will correct if I say, "Yes, this is
For
something unknown,"
sure.
and then I say, "Oh my gosh, no, we figured out what it was." There's a
Yep.
difference between, not knowing something and then purposely faking something, you know what I mean?
That's
So,
very different. Yep.
yeah, so
Oh,
me and
none of us are infallible. I mean, shoot, that's
yeah,
part of it,
it's one of my suspicions that we aren't supposed to record a spirit evidence. That's why it manifests itself when we aren't recording. Or like me, I hear it and I always have my recorders going so it gets caught.
for sure.
um, we were taking a break from filming. We were in the room with the tables and chairs when we heard that. Oh, that's so cool. Goth is saying limerence, if I'm saying that right, I don't even know, is an irrational love for someone who doesn't know you and will never know you. Like when you love a movie star or a rock star. For instance, for me, it was Donna Douglas. Mine is Brad Pitt.
Okay. I was
New
trying
Kids
to
on the
place
Block.
limerence,
New Kids
and
on the
that's
Block.
cool. I learned something new. That's very cool.
New Kids on the Block, as you see my door poster.
Yeah, I know you have an unnatural obsession with them for sure.
Was it go
For
with
sure.
does it go with places too? Because probably Gettysburg could fall.
Yeah, for sure. Or is it connections to past life? See, that's a topic for a whole nother podcast, right?
Yeah, really. Um, let's see here. Um, I know a lot of people. So Boo is saying, I know a lot of people doing good work, and none of it is for public viewing on YouTube and such. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate because a lot of times people don't put their stuff out there because they think they're going to get ripped apart.
you're going to. You're absolutely going to. And honestly, that's why I decided to start the production company and put out these stories because I got tired of seeing stuff that was, and I think that's the same reason Joe and Matt do what they do. We got tired of seeing the stuff that passes as legitimate, and we started putting out, our own content. And look, there's going to be people that are going to say it's crap. There's going to be people that are going to challenge whether or not it's real or true. At the end of the day, I know that I have never ever faked anything, never would fake anything. I've never exaggerated something to a point of making it something that it's not. I would never do those things. I know who I am. I don't need anybody to validate me in the comments. I put it out there. Those that want to enjoy it will enjoy it. Those that don't, don't. I don't think it's a measure of doing good work whether or not you publicize it or not. I think you shouldn't publicize things like residential work. I would never do that unless it was a client that wanted that to be done for some reason. But other than that, and even then, I don't know that I would. It would have to be the right circumstance. But I think we need more people putting out real work,
Yeah.
so people can see real work.
Yes, I agree, Joe. Best way not to get ripped apart on YouTube, be transparent. Absolutely.
Absolutely, a
And
100%.
never let go of your integrity
Yep,
and your aunt like that. That's like my number one thing is my integrity. And
yep.
and
That's
and
all we got. All we've got's our reputation. That's it.
yep, which is why I hold it so near and dear to my heart. So
Yep.
when somebody tries to, lie and do kind of all, and who knows why people do what they do.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but
And sometimes it's pure jealousy. I mean, I've
yeah,
experienced that too. I mean, it's
yeah,
people will do that, or they perceive you're a threat to their phoniness and they don't like it.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, Boo is telling Joe, "LOL, Joe, you guys put all your raw footage up on YouTube." That's all mine would be. Like if I go live on Facebook, like that's it. Like I don't go back and edit and do anything. And I'm not down on anybody that does that.
No,
I think
yeah.
it's amazing when people can go back and edit and put really cool music in there
Yeah,
and
and I think it depends on what you're doing with it. Like, if I wanna just put like, I think that's great that they do that. I don't because I spend so much time with all the other stuff I'm doing. I just don't have time. My YouTube has a couple of promo clips on there for the film and a few other things. I just don't have time to put a lot of that stuff up there and upload it and to keep up with something else. That's the only reason I don't do it. Because plus, like I said, for this project, and I know that they would know this too. For this project alone, I've got 400 or 500 hours of audio and video. I mean, at one point with Jay's stuff, I mean, we had like 12 cameras rolling at some of these experiments, and
Yeah.
you're talking hours of that plus audio at being recorded at 5 or 6 locations at one time. I mean, that's a tremendous amount of raw data. So
Right.
I don't take the time to do that, but I do retain that data that I can go back and check at any time or make it public if I ever needed to. But I think transparency is 100% the only way to go.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way to do things.
Yeah. And Joe's just saying we review our footage for documentaries live and also show the editing live so people see there's no BS going on and being transparent. And that's awesome.
It's
Like,
awesome. That's
yeah,
fantastic.
that's the kind of stuff I like to watch. I don't like to watch
Yeah,
all the oh and the oh
yeah,
my god and the faking and
yeah.
this and that.
No,
I don't like to.
I
I'm not
get it.
into any of that. I would prefer to watch a 3.5 hour long investigation live and be like, oh my gosh, we heard this or we saw that or we heard that,
Yep,
be another set of ears and eyes for those that are investigating just in case. Like that's how I look at it.
yep.
Um, but before we go, because we're over time, sorry, we were having a really good conversation. I almost don't want to go, but um, where again can we find a field of fears?
Yeah, so Field of Fears, you can go to Shadowwork Productions LLC.com and you go to the stream buy link. It's got links to all the places currently available, which is available, like I said, on YouTube, Amazon, Google, coming to Tubi soon, coming to physical media soon. Also, appearances will be guests at Smoky Mountain Terror again this year. So anybody that's going to be in the area of East Tennessee, Kingsport, Smoky Mountain Terror will be set up there as special guests. Also, probably going to be at CreepyCon as special guest this year, which is in Knoxville. And then, if anybody is interested that's out there that would like to spend 2 weeks in Romania investigating some of the most haunted locations in Romania with myself and my wife, we will be part of Haley A. Ramsey's tour in Romania, investigating some of the most active locations in
Wow, that's
Romania
awesome.
for
Wow,
2 weeks. So if
wow,
anybody's
that's
interested
so
in that trip,
cool. Good for you. That's amazing.
yeah.
Wow, that's a lot. Hey, are you coming to any of the up north cons, like the Bash or
I'm
any?
not sure if we're going to make anything up that way this year. The Bash, I'm not going to be able to make this year for the simple fact that we are filming a project and we're already booked for that month every weekend. So I definitely won't make the Bash this year, unfortunately, which I hate because we enjoyed it last year when we came. But I don't know about any others yet. I am talking to a couple of Paracons to see. Of course, anything happening in September, I won't be able to do because we will be in Romania for 2 weeks. So,
Right, right. Um, that stinks.
but you never know.
No, the Romania thing doesn't stink. The stinks that
No, no, I know that we're not going to. Yeah,
yeah. But we do have to set up I want to come down to Tennessee. I do want to come down there.
you've said that for years.
I
I'm
know.
going to call you out. I'm calling you out on your own show. I don't believe it. I'll believe it when you call me and say you're on your way.
I know I want to. I mean, it's one of the places I want to go. Like I really definitely want to come down there and
You've
I
got a
hope
place to stay. You've got
yeah.
stuff to do. All you got to do is say, "Hey, I'm coming."
All right.
I'm
We
just
got
telling you. I'm putting it out here for your audience. Now it's out there. You can't say I didn't tell you now.
that's right. That's right. I got to figure it out. It's got to be I got to do it. I got to do it. We have to plan it. We definitely have to plan it.
For
Um
sure.
but and oh boy, Joe, come down to Tennessee. Matthew and
See,
I only live 30 or 40 minutes away from each
see,
other.
there
Yeah.
you go. You
Uh,
got that. You got Joe. You got me. I mean, you got that's no excuse now.
yeah. And
I'm
one of
just
my
saying.
peaches is saying I love Tennessee. I've never been to Tennessee, so I would love to go down there and just check it out. I probably would need more than a weekend for sure. You know what I mean? Because I'd want to explore a little bit, maybe even do stuff outside of paranormal, even like just explore, history.
We got a couple good battlefields around here too.
All
Then
right.
Chickamauga,
Like,
second bloodiest day in the Civil War. I'm just saying, it's not 3 hours away. 3 hours from where I live. One of the biggest battles in the Western theater. Just saying.
Sage is saying thank you for the interview, Matthew and Taryn. You're very welcome. Thank you, Matt, for coming on.
Oh
Always.
man, I love it. I
I
always enjoy doing your show.
Yeah, I thank you so much. Please, everybody, please go check out Matt's pages of Field of Fears, and uh, oh, okay, Gatlinburg. Well, this is what I am a sucker for. See, I want homemade moonshine. I want
See,
real moonshine.
we can definitely take care of that too, theoretically.
I want real moonshine.
I mean, I would say that's possible in these parts. I'm just going to throw that out there as a maybe.
Like Jim Bob is making it in the backyard. Do you know what I mean? Like I want
That's
real.
illegal, Taryn, but I'm saying it could happen. You never know. But hey, I want to thank your audience too for
Yeah,
the great questions and the great input. I mean, it's always when you do these things, when you have great audience input, it helps. They ask questions that make you think, and sometimes you learn something like I did tonight. And I always enjoy learning new things, so that's fantastic. And last thing I want to say on the film is, please, if you do watch it, leave us a review on IMDb. Leave us an honest review. I want to know what you think of it, wherever you watch it, and definitely on IMDb. Hop on there and leave us reviews because that's what drives the algorithms and helps people like me make content.
yeah. And please, everybody, please share the show out. Not for me, not for Paranormal Brew, but for Matt and Field of
Thank
Fears.
you.
I always love to give. This is why I do my show, for exposure to people that are doing real work in the paranormal and in the debunking community as well, and the skeptics and all around. So
And that's
please,
one thing I love that you do. You're not afraid to have the debunkers on here because debunkers keep us honest and they're an important part of what we do. So thank you for giving them a voice and a place where they can feel, safe to talk about their side of the coin.
absolutely, absolutely. Um, I love you, sir. It,
Likewise.
if your wifey's watching still, tell her, or I don't know if she's in that, but just give her a hug for me. I don't know if she's still
I
watching.
will.
Give her a hug. And definitely will check out Field of Fears. I definitely want to watch it. Um, and I look forward to whatever else you got coming out. And I look forward to coming to Tennessee.
Yep. You need to come down and film something with me too. I'm
Yeah,
just telling you.
sure.
The
I'm down.
offer's out there. All you gotta do is come. You just
Yeah,
gotta get here.
yeah. I just have to get there, which isn't hard. I'll just drive through.
That's just a drive. It's not hard.
I want to thank everybody for watching. Thank you, everybody, for commenting and sharing your thoughts and asking questions. Um, I will be on next week, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And until next time, my lovely people, sweet dreams. Good night.